So, we're back to April because this holiday refuses to leave my brain except via my mouth. You're just gonna have to deal with it. This time, Cybertron, not just before the war, but before the war. So, the Seekers head out into the galaxy in search of uninhabited stars because Cybertron needs to eat stars in order to live. Its continued existence is built on untold cosmic destruction. After the war, but before the war that's relevant to this video, we'll get there in a moment. Archibald Witwicky sets foot in the Arctic and witnesses something beneath the ice. It turns his mind inside out. It fills him with symbols he can't comprehend. He spends the rest of his life in an asylum, and the government denies that what he saw existed, even as they sought to exploit it for their own gain. What do these two have in common? Yeah, it turns out the real cosmic horror was the empire we built and the back that subjugated others along the way. Abstract fuckers, we're doing BreadTube this time, because the war that's relevant to this video isn't the Autobot-Decepticon war, it's the Iraq war. So regardless of your opinion on more or less anything, the impact of US interventionism in the Middle East on the Bayformers movies cannot be overstated. All but one of the movie 1 Decepticons turn into military hardware. Barricade, have you seen the US police force? He counts as military. First movie also spends a whole lot of time showcasing just how badass the US military is. Like, we have Lennox, we have Epps, with the rest of their unit going through non-specific desert region and fighting a big scorpion. Fine, play the clip.
Left cheek! Left cheek! Left cheek!
This culminates in successfully taking down Brawl or Devastator, his name is a whole thing, alongside Bumblebee, and Lennox personally shoots Blackout in the dick while the Air Force blows him up. Setting aside space robots for the moment, the first Transformers film was about a clandestine government agency playing with forces beyond their control, and then the good old boys of the US Armed Forces show up and fix everything. Then by the second movie, the army can go toe-to-toe with Megatron himself and blow up the Decepticons' giant combining trump card. Fine, play the other clip.
I am directly below the enemy scrotum.
Then by movie 3, the Decepticons do a 9/11 on Chicago. The grand finale set piece of the trilogy is the US military being deployed domestically in the United States to take on an existential threat to them, the most powerful nation in the world, and winning. The aftermath of this is used as an excuse in the 4th and 5th film for exponential increase in national security. Like, in the movie timeline, I don't want to fucking know where you're going to take off to get to the TSA checkpoint. Even on a micro scale, speaking of security checkpoints, look at the security checkpoint scene in Revenge of the Fallen. These random Egyptian guys, they just love America. They want these random American terrorists with no papers read and have a great time. Go Yankees. Ugh. And obviously this is no coincidence. These films were funded in part by the US military, who will provide funding and materials for any movie that paints them in a good light, with the sole exception of Iron Eagle, because they thought Iron Eagle was too fucking stupid. And so they got the Israeli Air Force, I believe, to do it instead, who are basically just America Junior. So, this leaves me with one big question then. Why did I start this video talking about Cybertron if this is about America? Ancient Cybertron is modern-day America. It's a self-contained empire racked with internal divisions and reliant on the exploitation of others. There's two major parties, basically. One of them believes in ethical exploitation only, limiting the destruction to uninhabited systems. And the other believes that they have the right to wipe out organic life as well. The other one, of course, being your boy, the Fallen. Him of the revenge. The thing is, from his perspective, he's right to do so. Inhabited worlds fuel the Allspark more because they just fucking taste better or some shit. Anyway, at no point does finding a way of life that doesn't leave a path of dead worlds across the cosmos actually occur to anyone. And then also Tony Todd just wipes out the entire maybe we should only blow up uninhabited systems party. Good for him. And then we had a pre-war Cybertron after the fall of this whole empire, and things have shifted. Cybertron has become America's perception of the Middle East. It's a war-torn region facing external pressure for vast quantities of a natural resource that everyone else wants part of. The war itself only starts because of the Fallen, the last representative of the great Cybertronian empire that is America. At this point, it becomes paramount that they don't get access to the power to consume stars, because if they do, they'll most likely turn it on the United States. The actual United States this time. I'm skipping over a few gaps in the timeline where Megatron is just chilling. So all in mind then, the Decepticons and the Bayverse are best viewed through the lens of terrorists. They are stealing US military equipment, or at least the appearance thereof, and testing the US military defenses before showing up in Mission City or something. Totally a real place, please believe.
Adding Lucas here. Given that I am filming this in my hotel room out of Vigicon, and the date, which is in June, and this video was meant to go up in April, my executive has not been functioning. However, during this last round of editing, I realised that Mission City is really fucking weird, and now I feel compelled to talk about it. So, it is 22 miles north of the Hoover Dam. So far, so good. That all makes sense. But the I-95 runs through it, which is way the fuck over there. And there's a couple solutions for this. The first one is the I-95 just sort of detours a little bit. It's kind of whoop. And, no, that's just silly. Far more logical is that there is one really, really long, thin city. It's cutting through the middle of the continental United States. That's what I'm going with. Mission City is not a state itself, because we've seen the American flag. We have seen so many American flags in these fucking movies. Because of this, Mission City is in the District of Mission, a similar thing to the District of Columbia, that just kind of whoop, borrows a little bit from a bunch of different states, and is kind of everywhere, because that somehow makes the most sense. This does mean that the Autobots just go along Main Street of Mission City really, really fucking fast to get from the I-95 to the Hoover Dam, but like, I'm more willing to believe that than I am to believe the I-95 just kind of zhoops.
Anyway, yeah, they test the defenses. They do some stuff in a far-flung corner of the world that most Americans don't especially care about. Except it's a place to exploit, let's face it. Or a place to take selfies in front of some pyramids, which are not going to be getting many selfies now that they've been blown up and replaced with alien super equipment. We'll find out what actually happened there afterwards. Did they put the pyramids back? Are there now, like, 6 wonders of the ancient world and also an alien super weapon that is still a tourist destination? Like, fuck, was that the Great Pyramid as well? Is there a Pizza Hut directly facing the alien super weapon? We need to know these things, it's very important. So, anyway, third film then. Just in case the propaganda wasn't obvious enough already, Dark of the Moon opens with the Autobots infiltrating and destroying an Iranian nuclear facility on behalf of the US government. They're just part of the US military now, I guess. Sure, fuck it, why not? They strike directly at the heart of America, sweet home Chicago. Because New York could be too obvious, they've kind of had it bad enough already, with being the home of the Mets. LA doesn't really have any good landmarks. With the Hollywood sign, but that's kind of flimsy. Like, a stiff breeze and just whomp. And Magneto, who did nothing wrong, already took out the Golden Gate Bridge in the lackluster third entry in his trilogy, so that rules out the Bay Area as well. Like, what are you gonna do? Crack the Liberty Bell? Show up in Washington, tear Abe, blow up Abe Lincoln, and steal his seat? No, sorry, that was the wrong clip. This one is the one I had to play here.
I won't miss this time. I knew you'd risk yourself for Mr. Lincoln.
Anyway, so fourth and fifth films, largely about dealing with the aftermath of this. At the end of the third film, we got rid of the Decepticons. It's mission accomplished. And it went as well as Mission Accomplished did in real life, let's fucking face it. So the Decepticons that were in captivity didn't stay there, all as part of a wider effort across both the fourth and fifth films to get rid of the real enemy, the good cooperative guys from the same place. And you can see some of this in how the US has treated known allies from the Middle East since this whole disaster happened. What does all this mean then? In short, it means that in the Bayverse, America is inescapable. The world loves it and bends to its will. Or else the great and powerful US military will show up with their bombs and their guns and their tanks, and leave nothing behind but dust. Someday the world's going to be quiet and calm, and there'll be nobody left to oppose the United States, which will be everywhere and everything. In other words, they'll have, well, peace through tyranny.